Hey there, everyone. I'm losing my mind. I realized as I was getting the live stream started that I didn't have my microphone on, and so I'm scrambling to get that on, and it's half of the cord is laying on the floor, and all kinds of mess. And then all my overlays were out of order, so y'all are just getting the real deal tonight. I hope you had a great weekend. I'm going to mess with this a little bit because, it's just family, right? And hopefully everything is going well in your life and world. We have had some rainy weather here in the heart of the South, and it's been kind of chilly, although I saw one of my friends in Kansas City post that they might get snow this weekend. So I am not going to complain too loudly. All right. True. Lola, it's good to see you in the house. You can't lose something you never had. Yes. Sometimes I think I'm losing my mind and then I realize, nope, I'm just fine. I do not think that the live stream is going live over on the Facebook. So let me check that real quick. We don't want our peeps over on Facebook left out. I don't know why my service is not going to Facebook, but if y'all will bear with me, I'm going to take the link here from YouTube and post it over to Facebook so people can find us tonight. Give me just a second, if you would be so kind. I know you are so kind because y'all are just good people. Y'all are my good people, good people, good people. So haha. Absolutely, tomato, absolutely. That's my problem. Coveting too much. Too much. Okay. Let's see. This is episode number 30 of this live stream. So let me grab 30. And we're going to hear myself share this live stream. So let me grab. Okay. Let me put this. That way, if people go to my Facebook page, they will find the link. Okay. There we should be good. If it posts there. Okay. Usually I pin the post at the top of my Facebook page, but I didn't do that. I did last week's. So, all right. So welcome everyone. Hey there, Mom. Thanks for joining, Mom and Dad. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Facebook today. Maybe they are mad at me because I tried to uninstall their app from my phone this week and found out that Samsung phones preload Facebook app as a system app, so you can't uninstall it, you can only disable it. So yeah, that's really shady. I've had this phone for probably 3-4 years and never knew that I couldn't uninstall Facebook. So not too happy about that. Makes me want to go get an iPhone, so may do that sometime so when I need a new phone. All right, so this week we are going to be painting, as you might have surmised, these bright chili peppers. I guess they're what, poblano, probably, I think poblano peppers. I can't remember what type of peppers those are, but we're going to be painting those this evening. I had started thinking I was going to do an 8x10 painting, and then I kind of sketched it out and I was like, you know what, this is going to be a fun one. It's kind of the dimension, it's oversized, so I kind of want to do that oversized. So I'm doing 11x14, so a little bit larger. I did do a basic sketch, which you can see there, just to kind of give me some guidelines as we get started this evening. So that is going to be the plan. I'm also excited because this week I got my first big boy brushes. When I started this last July, when I started learning to paint, I decided to just start and use some inexpensive supplies until I actually started to know what I was doing. So now, about 6 to 8 months in, I feel like I kind of know what I'm doing in some area. And so, all right, tomato with the puns tonight. Yes, it is sketchy. So I actually have my first big boy brushes, which I'm clearly proud of. These are Rosemary & Co. brushes. Well, that one's not, but these are. All the painters that I watched online on YouTube were using Rosemary & Co. So that's the brand, Rosemary & Co. They are out of the UK. A lady started this 30 years ago. It's a family-owned business, and they hand make these brushes. So I'm excited to have some quality brushes. I have these. Whoops, this one isn't rosemary, and this one's not rosemary. And then I got some smaller ones for. Oh, that one's not, for some detail work. These are specifically for doing detail on landscapes, so foliage and things like that, but I can use them however. So I'm excited to get started with and break in some new brushes, and so kind of reorganized my space here a little bit, got some more jars and set all my brushes, because now I actually have more than I can just see laid out in front of me. So excited to have new brushes. So that's what's been happening in my life. The other thing that's happening in my life, I think I mentioned last week, that I am moving at the end of next month out to the mountains of western South Dakota. So I have been frantically looking for housing out there. The housing market is crazy. And so have been looking for over the last several weeks and months, and still don't know how that's all going to play out, but we are going to make it work. So, all right, let's get started, y'all. As always, jump into the conversation. Cutting off half my face. This conversation, or this live stream, is, as you can tell, kind of just really lo-fi. We are not high brow here, and it's funny because I had all this time before the live stream, and I was on my friend Max's live stream watching him, and then and then craziness ensued when I left. Usually 5 to 7 minutes is enough time to get my live stream going, but tonight, for some reason, I just kind of lost it all. So, don't know. Let me put you over my shoulder. You can you can see out my window. I have my blinds open, but you can see the reference there in the right-hand corner of your screen. And that is what we are going to work on tonight. So let's start putting in some color. I'm going to start by putting some crimson on my palette. Obviously, there's going to be lots of reds, oranges, blues, browns in this and of course green in this painting. So I'm going to do a cadmium red, a crimson, which has a little bit more purple in it. Some, I don't know what this is. I have all these small crimson paints, small tubes that are tiny that I need to use up. So this is a great opportunity to use all the cadmium red. I'll put this, I'm just going to put a bunch of colors out on my palette and try to use up some of this red paint. So about 6 different colors of red. So that's what I got, all the reds. Yeah, I'm wondering if I'm going to need some magenta. Maybe I will. We shall see. And then I think some blue. Create some of our shadow areas. So, yeah. Let's jump in with large brush, broad strokes. So let's do some, let's see. I'm going to take this red color and take it down with some blue. Create kind of a purple. I guess that's going to give us that magenta anyway. So we'll do that. We're going to start with our darkest colors tonight. Putting in some dark colors. So we'll put in where we see the shadows. We're just going to start putting in some dark colors. What color is the background going to be? Good question. I really want the focus to be on the peppers. I want them to pop in the light that is playing off the peppers. So I really think that I am going to tone down the background, probably like a nondescript kind of blackish brown blue, just so the peppers actually kind of, I mean, not the peppers, but the, so anything that's not the pepper kind of just fades out into the background, if that makes sense. That's what I'm thinking at least. So we'll, and I'm just doing, again, broad strokes kind of where this, and what I may do, I'm just going to kind of see how this evolves. There's obviously there's a bowl in the reference photo that these are sitting in, but I don't know how detailed I want that bowl to be, or how much I want visible. So yeah, we'll see. I'm obviously painting. I can always do just a little bit lighter and just illusions of the bowl kind of on the edge, but that's kind of my thought, at least right now. This is my first chance to kind of test that hypothesis, Lola, with the kind of dark background. So I'm going to take this up here and just kind of put in a dark background. I think I'm going to take it darker, but I just want to get some paint on the canvas with some broad brush strokes. Again, so it draws the eye, using the shadow to draw the eye up to the peppers. Let's see. Kind of quiet tonight. I think I might have to. I was just talking last week. I had those of you that were here last week remember I had my friend Yogesh and his kids stopped over. Afterwards, they were so kind to treat me to. We went out for Indian food to his favorite Indian place. It was delicious. And we tried a bunch of different Indian food that I had not tried before. It was really good and really fun. We had a great evening after the live stream. But one of the things we talked about was that eventually, especially as the world gets back to activity, I may have to do a different time for these, because obviously a Saturday night, people are going to be busy typically, or often people will be busier on Saturday night, and so I may have to do a live stream. And I've thought about, once I get moved, doing a day stream and a night stream once a week, depending if I could sustain that, if I could do 2 streams a week. My goal is to paint much more. That's one of the reasons I'm moving, is to be able to paint much more. So yeah, but I may have to do like an evening, a weekday evening, and then maybe a Sunday afternoon stream or something that is a daytime stream. We'll see how it all plays out. We will see how it all plays out. Ooh, that's a good question. Yes, I said that I want to do that. That's kind of one of my next things to jump into. Probably my guess is not till I move, which is going to be Memorial Day weekend. Just because there's so much, obviously, stress around moving and all the things, especially a move cross country. So it's probably just mentally, I think I'll be in a better place to start that once I get moved. So my guess would be the summer, this summer, Lola, if I'm going to be fair and honest. So that's kind of, let's plan for that at least, sometime in the summer. I do like this dark background that's kind of purplish, blackish, brownish, bluish that is popping up. So I think I'm going to continue. I'll probably do a couple of, as I typically do, I'll do a couple of coats of this because it won't cover the first time, but yeah. Lola, have you ever done, I know you've done animal, I've seen obviously some your animal paintings. Have you done portraits or have you tried that before? I'd be really curious to hear your experience, the challenges that are around the corner for me. Ah, gotcha. I imagine some of it is similar. What do you think is the most challenging part of doing a portrait? Or what are the biggest obstacles? The skin tone. Ah, yeah, can totally see that. That makes a lot of sense. Skin tones are so, and we think of like skin tones as tan or brown or peachish, depending on someone's, how tan they are or their ethnicity or whatever. But there's so many more skin tone colors that are actually in the skin tones. When I've watched some of the videos of painters that I watch that do portraits, it's fascinating to me the colors that are in our skin that we interpret it in our eyes by our eyes as just one or two colors. There's so much variety, and I imagine that's really challenging to get it right so that it looks right. Okay, we've got some background basically in, got most of this covered. So what I want to start doing to help us see if we're on task is I want to start putting in broader highlights. So, or not highlights, but hey there, Bob G, welcome. Hope you were able to get a little walk in. I know it's been cloudy. I haven't seen it rain, but hope you got the pulled muscle is, yeah, episode 30. Can you believe it? 30 episodes in. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so let's go take some of this that is dark. Let me take some of the, actually, do y'all remember several weeks ago when I talked about the color, like how to, some of the reds, like in the pepper is going to be obviously the bright reds, but then do you remember how we tone down reds or any color? Remember what we said? How do you tone down or desaturate a color? I'm going to go in and start putting in some, hopefully some shape. So shadow where I see kind of the darker, let's start putting that in. Yep, opposite on the color wheel, absolutely. So I'm mixing this red with a little green. Notice what it does on the palette. See the red over here and the green over here? It gives me an automatic shadow color that is good for the whatever I'm painting. So I can take a little green, a little red, and it gives me that nice shadow color. A lot of this, again, I'm just kind of where I sort of see this and trying to figure this out. So we will tell us how you knew you were going to be at this point tonight. Say more about that, Bob. What do you mean, be at this point tonight? How I knew I would be at what point, like in the development of my skill, or just geographically here? Yes, your skill level. Oh, I absolutely didn't know that I would be at this point. And honestly, I don't even know. Looking at what I'm doing right now, I'm like, what kind of point am I really at? This is going to be a challenging one. I had no idea, honestly. When I started, I didn't know at all. I was just doing it for the fun of it and hoping it would, not hoping, but just like, oh, it'll turn out. Or it won't, because I had no expectation. I had no, like, yeah, I had no expectation that this would turn into, that I would be even moderately successful with it. But as I got into it, like more and more, I just found I really, really, really loved it, doing it. And so I'm addicted, honestly, to, like, I'm addicted to getting better. I'm addicted to figuring out like what I don't, when I do something I don't like, and then something I do like what worked, what didn't, how do I make it better, how do I actually improve. So yeah, had no idea when I started, and especially this live stream. Like when I started live streaming, I truly didn't think anybody would find it interesting to sit and watch or listen to me ramble for any amount of time. And so it's really fun that you guys all enjoy this and that people periodically pop in and out. And what I'm excited about the next stage is really, when I move, getting into, I plan to start a vlog series about the process of moving cross country and the challenges of that and the adventure, because I really, especially with kind of what's going on, like there's so many unknowns, especially around the housing situation, finding housing, and then launching out on my own, doing freelance work. There's so many challenges, and so yeah, it's gonna be fun to figure out. It's definitely gonna be a challenge. So this is really a hot mess, pardon the pun, but that's all right, because we're just trying to get some basic shapes in. And then we have to kind of get them on the canvas and then see, like, how do we adjust it so that it looks the way we want it to look? How do we adjust what we're doing so that it produces the results we want? What I'm realizing is I need to kind of paint. Red is really, well, orange, but which red has a lot of orange in it, or orange has a lot of red in it, and yellow are translucent, fairly translucent colors. And so what I realized when I started putting that bright red on is that I need an underlayer. So I'm changing my strategy mid-track, and I'm kind of doing a dark underlayer, which will give us then a layer to paint on top of. At least that's the intent. So let's get this, an underlayer of red on. I'm mixing with a little green just so it honestly covers better and gives me some sense of the pepper. But to make this look really good, we'll do a bunch of layers so that it doesn't, so we get good highlights on the peppers. Once we kind of get peppers in place, then I'll go and put some basic stems in. So in the same deal, I'll do the green, and I'll do a little darker green so that we have an underlying layer. God forbid I ever have to mix this red again, because I'm just mixing all kinds of reds together. Well, the trolls are here, y'all, on Twitch. We can buy followers. Did y'all know that? We can buy all the followers we want on Twitch. That just made me laugh when I saw that pop up in the comments, so had to share with you all. I will be living in a town in the country. It's a town of about, hopefully living in the town of about 3,500 people. It is the, I guess, kind of the last town on the mountain before you kind of crest over into Wyoming. So it's like at the end, if you have heard of Deadwood, years ago HBO had a series called Deadwood that was about the history of Deadwood, South Dakota, obviously fictionalized. But I will be at basically a sister city of Deadwood, which is Lead, spelled Lead, pronounced Lead. That is where my parents live, and that's where I'm going to be hopefully setting down roots for the next few years at least. But there's a lot of revitalization happening in the town, and so there is what a realtor described to me as a extreme seller's market, she called it. And so that is what's going on in Lead, and what I am finding even in the renter's market. It is prohibitively expensive to rent, at least what I've found so far. So I'm hoping for a little miracle. The thing is, there are towns around, but kind of the whole area is experiencing this overflow. Anything that's within an hour-ish, 45 minutes of Lead. So we will see how this all plays out. So I am right now just going in and kind of adding rough shapes, rough highlights with some brighter red over the darker. Just because I started doing it and I'm like, oh, that's working. So kind of where I see the highlights of, we'll start putting some of this, and that will start to give us the idea of shape, or the illusion of shape, because the peppers are not flat. So, but again, I'm doing this it's a very broad brush, because if I can kind of get them somewhat looking right, then it really helps when refining it. So that's the intent. And it helps also, it's confirming the decision to the decision I made to use a dark background. I really am liking how this is appearing on a dark background. So, but see how putting that bottom layer in, covering up, and then coming in with some higher value reds is giving us the quick perception of the peppers. Like, we can already start to see the image a little bit. And there's really nothing on the canvas except some blots of paint. Trying to really focus on kind of creating, like, what are the shapes I'm seeing versus the object. Seeing kind of the folds of these peppers, you see these kind of humps and valleys. So that's what I'm trying to paint. Whoop. Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful part of the country. It's the Black Hills National Forest, so it is really beautiful up there, Lola. Kind of similar weather, I imagine, to how you guys get in the best part of the summer, where you get, 70s, 80s. When it gets up to 90, they don't have a lot of humidity, very little humidity, so that's kind of nice. Yeah, I am really... I've been to Sturgis and Mount Rushmore. Oh, okay. So, yeah. So, Keystone, which is where Mount Rushmore is about an hour from Lead. And Sturgis is about 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes from Lead, on the other side of the canyon. So, yep, that's exactly where I'm headed. Yeah, it is beautiful. Yeah, you've experienced the Black Hills then. So I am really loving this Rosemary and Co brush, y'all. So if you're a painter, highly recommend the investment. They're not too, I think the set I had, or that I ordered, had 16 brushes in it, and I think it was, I want to say after conversion, the conversion rate in shipping and everything, I want to say it was like $90. So not even $10 a brush. And for me, it's worth it for especially the hand, hand made brushes. Like, that's really high quality. It's worth it to invest, especially now that I'm starting to get a little better, a little more skilled. So, all right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take a base green, kind of start putting in like where we want our. Okay, now I'm going to have to do the same though, to bring in some reds and blues, because the green is not covering too much. So let's put that in there. We're just going to put, oh, that doesn't cover very good at all. There we go. That's a little better. So let's start to define some of these. Shapes. I'm going very dark, almost the same as the background, to cover up some of this canvas. Then we'll just blend it in, put some highlights over it, but yeah, I want to get kind of give the illusion back here of a green top. Okay, so let's give ourselves kind of this, see how we like that. Give it a minute to dry, and then we'll see. In the corner here, I'm just, in the reference photo, you can actually see the green, but because the background is what it is, I'm just giving the illusion of a little bit darker shade there, so it's the illusion of color. Then here, I want to come in. This is where the brightest. So I think in the actual picture, or in this actual painting, I'm going to highlight the light across this pepper here, and then across here, this, so it shines down across this stem here. So I think that's how I'm going to play this one. And then all of this will be in shadow, so we'll just get light kind of across this section, and it'll draw the eye in kind of in a circular S motion right into this area. That'll be the intent, at least. So we will not do exactly what the is the reference is, but it gives us an idea. That's the fun of doing this, because you can start to see how it's going to lay out and see how you want it to look, versus just then I can stray further and further from the reference once I kind of have laid out how I want this to play. So now let me go in. I think I am going to switch out a brush. Switch out my brushes and go a little bit smaller. So I was using this brush to do most all of this work. Now I'm going to switch to one that is a little bit smaller, maybe a 1/2 inch, and do a little bit more detail work. And then when I get to the tiniest area, I'll go to the smallest one, perhaps, or we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then do highlights. So I think what I'm going to do, though, first is we're an hour in, and y'all can see that my water is pretty nasty. So I am going to, I have it for a couple weeks, but I am actually going to do a quick water run. I'm going to give you a break, so if you want to grab a refill on your drink and snacks, I just like how I assume everybody has a drink and snacks. Or if you want to grab a drink and snacks, please do. So yeah, I will be back in about 30 to 60 seconds. All right. Hope that was a good break for y'all and you had enough time to get something. I'm going to step back a little bit. Let me turn this so you can kind of see what I'm looking at. I'm kind of looking at this at a distance. I like how this is laid out. I'm liking how it's starting to come together. So I think the composition is really good. So I think what I'm going to do is just really start to refine this a little bit. I do think I'm going to come in down at the bottom and give us a darker, some definition for the bowl that these are sitting in, a darker shade, a darker shadow, so that there's the kind of suggestion that there's a bowl. even though the background is pretty dark, obviously, we're going to keep it pretty dark. And yeah, so that's kind of the strategy, at least right now, for the next few minutes. Let me see. Also, something kind of, just so, I think I mentioned on the live stream, but since you guys are here with me often, I did my first commission. Somebody hired me for commission, which is something I wasn't really planning to try to make money from this, because it's a hobby, and honestly I feel like I'm not good enough, or there's all the feelings of imposter syndrome that we all deal with, are no different for me. And so, but as part of that process, I enjoyed it. It was successful and it was fun, and obviously making a little money was fun. But what I realized is I don't really enjoy the pressure of the commission, just because it made me feel like it had to be like at a certain level, and I had to paint at a certain time. But what I do think I'm going to do is continue my process as I learn, and going to actually paint. I'm thinking about doing this, painting different subjects at different and multiples of different subjects, and kind of doing a series of, for example, flowers or animals or people. And then I'm actually thinking about putting up a website or a link on my site where you can, or people can purchase, if they see something I paint and they like it, they can purchase prints, as opposed to doing the creating the stress of the of the commission. So that's kind of my thoughts. We'll see. But okay, so I think going to come in, and I mix some more red and kind of the dark shadow color with some green here. And I think I'm going to come in with a smaller brush and start to really define some of these and smooth out some of these shadow places on these peppers. And maybe it will give them a little more definition and a little more shape. The thing I just realized that I had said I was going to put the bowl in, but we can always go in and do the bowl some other time. With doing this kind of red-green shadow, like on the edge of this pepper, there is a reflection of, there's the shadow, but there's also the reflection of kind of the pepper. And so it's kind of a strange thing. That you want to capture it's almost a dark purple over there. So we get more over here, we need it even more diffused, because there's not a whole lot of light over here that hits the pepper. So now I'm trying to go in and really start to define some of the deepest shadows kind of under the peppers, so that it starts to define the light that's hitting them or the light that's not hitting them. My dogs are going crazy over the bird sounds on your channel. Oh, I'm sorry to work the puppers up. Yeah, it's crazy. That is with my windows shut, Lola. Isn't that insane? My windows are shut and you can still, yeah, hear ridiculous. Ridiculous. I mean, I love the birds, but I can't sleep sometimes with my windows open because in the morning they get so loud that it's just like, what are you doing? So, yeah, your pups are not alone. Sometimes they drive me crazy too. Oh, we're starting to see the shade of the peppers come out, aren't we? Starting to see that shape up here. This is a really good one to see the effect that I talked about last week about how when you put a color next to another color, it's amazing how the difference it looks, like how a color looks really different when you put it next to another color. You can start to see like these purples and reds and oranges and greens. Yeah, the greens are mixed in, but when you start to mix them together, then all of a sudden shape starts to happen, and you don't actually paint shape. It's just shape is revealed as you go, which is really cool to me, at least. It's a fun. It's fun to me now that I know that happens. To that's the fun stage of the painting to be at. I love painting at these stages where all of a sudden images start to appear just from a simple few brush strokes. So I just made a decision that I'm going to dull this pepper, this third one over, dull it down a little bit so that it doesn't distract from the others. Thank you, thanks. Because I really want this to be the brightest area, the light shining here, and then we'll finish with our highlights, which will really emphasize this. And so I want the eye to be drawn in this way to the painting. And so I want my brightest areas right along this kind of center nexus, so it kind of creates a curve of your eye to follow. And because of the shape of this pepper, and this one was popping out, you can still see it sits out pretty bright. So I am making the artistic decision to, and I mean on the whoops, that didn't do what I wanted it to do. On the reference photo, you can see that it's pretty, all of these are relatively similar as far as the brightness. It's even bright out on the edges. So I have to make a decision to really dull that down on purpose so that the eye goes where I want it to go. So these, notice how I've kind of pushed these back into the shadows a little bit. This one's in the shadow, especially down in here. So these two are going to be the primary, like, eye attraction for the eye is going to be in those areas. So I'm going to keep kind of just blending in more and more layers of this color so that when we come in with kind of the unmuted reds, I just keep mixing in this green, little more or less green to make it more purples or kind of muted. That way when we come in with the sorry, I'm thinking. When we come in with the bright reds, we won't have to put very much on top of this. Our shape, everything's going to be there. And then we just come in with our reds and then a little yellow white for the reflection of the light. And it really will then pop that right off the canvas, hopefully. That's the strategy, at least. Because I can already see that happening with what we already have. So I just want to, that's why we do a little bit, you know, you make adjustments because you see how it looks, you see how it responds. And in this case, I've been lucky. I'm really happy with how it's coming out. And so I just really want to dial in deeper and better to what I'm doing. And so I'm just, yeah, I'm adding more and more layers as layers dry. Trying to add more and more layers to blend some of these hard edges that I put in earlier. Let me get a little bit. That phthalo green, which is that blue green, does a really good job of mixing with these reds to give us that, the color here. I'm darkening this kind of, I don't know that you can see it necessarily, but it's a dark kind of purple red. Because I don't want to lose the fact that this pepper is there, but I just don't want it to be the focus of at all the focus of the painting. We got about a little over 30 minutes left, so should be able to get some good work done. Notice how I darkened this edge out here, and then the shape comes forward because of the difference in the contrast of color. It's all a play of lights and darks, isn't it? And I'm just learning that. Like I'm just noticing as I do it, and like, oh, that really works. Like that. So it's not like something that that's why these paintings are so helpful to do, because it forces you to really think. Because I know that I want the light to shine off of here and up to here, I'm going in and adding some dark shadow around the base of this stem to, it'll do a couple things. It will give us the feeling of the roundedness of the pepper, but it will also give me, hopefully, a really dramatic contrast, so I won't have to come super bright like is in the reference with the green. It will be like against the dark in the red or the shadow, and so then it won't distract me from what's happening up here, but it'll help lead in. At least that's the strategic intent. So we'll see how well we can do that. Okay. What do y'all think? I think I like where it's going. So I'm going to switch over a little bit. And I do not know why my nose is running. Oh, and I just realized I have a full glass of water somewhere in the other room. I guess it is allergy season. I don't have a lot of allergies, but when it's this time when there's literally like pollen running down the streets, it'll affect me. So perhaps that is why my nose is running. Kind of crazy. I think what I'm going to do now is come back to my green, and maybe I'll bring in a little brown, because orange is opposite of green, right? Well, red, but so I'll bring a little brown into this just to give us some muddiness. Okay, let me start putting some real shape to this green. To these stems. Basically just putting another layer in to cover the canvas so we don't have any unexpected highlights because canvas is showing through. Again, we're going in with really dark shades so that we can just put a very few highlights on top, and all of a sudden they pop. This needs to come in here. And what I need to do is actually no, that's not. Oop, put too much blue on my palette. I want to get a really dark color. Oh, I don't like that color. Okay, have about 15 minutes, so I'm gonna finish this. I'm using this, all this work I've been doing on the background to really darken to the point that I want to, so that the darken the background to the point I want it, so that the peppers have their final shape. And so that's, and all I have is this little bit up here, and then we're gonna try to come in with the lighter reds without creating too much contrast. The hard part for me right now, I'm just telling you ahead of time, will be coming in and not coming in not too much. Because the challenge is, like with any highlight, is going to be to want to overdo it. And so that's the challenge that lies in front of me. Alright, and we're almost blending that all the way into the back. Remember when we did the lion several months ago and we kept bringing that shadow further and further forward? That's what we're doing with these peppers. And you'll notice, if you remember the lion, we'll get almost, should be a similar, hopefully a similar feeling of the peppers, just like, whew, there they are. It's not the eyes, but the peppers. Okay, let's come in. I think I'm actually going to switch from this to an even smaller detail brush. Short, flat, rosemary. 1, 0. That's what I thought. Okay. So my goal is to be able to come in with this red, diffuse it just a tad. Okay, let's see if we can come in and give this pepper the light. We want to basically hit the brightest spots to give it the shape that we want. Where is the light going to hit most? The roundest points. Again, I'm going to have to fight the urge to put too much in. Now we'll come into this other pepper and do similar. Remember how we said we wanted the eye to go like this? So we're going to keep these almost completely in the shadows and keep our eyes right there. Might put a little more definition back here, but not much on this pepper because we want the back side of it to fade into the, just fade in to the background. But you want to give it a little, you want to give it some definition. These others, I'm going to use this as the highlight. On these. But I don't want to bring it too far forward. So now let us try to see what happens when we don't put a, the reflection looks like a white, doesn't it? Like the flash. So I'm going to put a little white, but first I'm going to actually mix it with the red I've been using, so it's pink, just to see what we get, just to see if we get something that is, if it works, because I don't know. If we may go back to white, but I want to try a super light pink first and see if that's going to look too weird. It might. It just looks like pink blobs. Thanks, Bob. I think I need a little more. I think I actually need orange. So let's try that. So I don't like what I'm getting necessarily with the pink because I need a little bit more orange in it. It's too bubblegum. So let's see if we mix orange with it, if we get a better, if there's anything better. I may end up ruining the painting and have to come back and redo it, this part. Or maybe I should have stayed with white. I think I do like the orange a little better, the orangish peach. But I think there's too many. By following the I think by following the reference photo too closely, I may mess this up. But okay, I don't hate it as much as I did. You have to blend this in because it will end up darker than it is. You have to blend this in a little bit, which won't get done tonight probably, but it gives us an idea. So I think what I learned is that yes, the peach orange, but I think I need to come like lighten this up, use it as a like broaden these areas so they're not, blend them in a little bit, and then use the white, come back actually with the white to do the actual highlights. Because it is, when I blend it in a little bit, it's making a nice kind of mid-tone. Giving me some more movement on these peppers. I like this. Yes, a real pale violet. Yes, it's almost, yes, you're absolutely right when it's mixing with that. Okay, so this is kind of cool. Oh my goodness. I realized we just went way over time. I got too excited about this. So, I think it is about time for me. That sometimes happens where it's like all of a sudden I see or I start making headway, and then our time is up. So I'm going to keep working on this over the next, we'll see. I always say that. I'm hoping with this move I will actually make more, the plan is to make more time in my schedule to be able to actually follow through on all the paintings I say, oh, I'm going to finish this. I still have that bridge one we did several weeks ago that is waiting here to be finished. And so, yeah, that's something I hope to do, but let me... blend some of this in real quick. All right, I like where this is going. So we're going to just keep working on it. But for now, this is what we got. All right. So let's take a look at, excuse my crazy hat hair. All right, so this is what we have right now. So you can see kind of close up some of the brush strokes. And I'm pretty proud of this. I think we made the right decision doing a dark background. And so yeah, I'm going to let this dry because like I said, this will dry darker than it is, and then I can come in and maybe do some additional highlight work. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. I didn't mean to clap right into the microphone. I'm really happy with it, and I appreciate you all staying with me this evening, late into the evening, past our normal time for a little bit of a longer live stream. You can join me next week every Saturday evening at 7 p.m. Central, and you can follow kind of the in-between photos on Instagram if you're not following me there at Stephen E. Rice. Stephen with a V, middle initial E, last name Rice, R-I-C-E. You can find all of my social media connections as well as website and YouTube, everything on my card page, which is Steve Rice, STEVERICE.card, CARRD.co, C-O. steverice.carrd.co, and you can see and catch up with me on all social platforms. You can also see or find the links to the upcoming next 4 live streams there as well. So if you ever lose the link to the live stream, you can find it there. I think that is it for this evening. Thanks again so much for joining me. I hope you have a great evening, and I will see you next week on the live stream.